All right, so I got a little Minnesota buck, little 6. Within 30 seconds of grabbing my rifle from the car, I saw this guy running, and I decided to drop down and take the shot because I had a good ethical backstop, felt safe, and I didn't want to sit in the deer stand all day if I'm just hunting for meat. So there's no trophies over here. This guy is the closest, and I'm going to use some of these buck knives. So I've got a set of them. This is the larger one, and these are S35. I'm pretty stoked to use them. They're very, very sharp. Right now I'm all sweaty and hot. Sorry, YouTube doesn't like some of the actual graphic stuff, so I can't show that all the time, but I did use these. There's all of the proof you need. Covered in guts. There's a dressed up deer. Just a little guy, but good meat. It'll taste good. So here's what I like about these, just off the top of my head while I'm still fresh after using them. They are scalpels. They're razor sharp, guys. Real sharp. And the big guy actually ended up being the one I used the most. I thought I would use the small one the most, just because I kind of like smaller knives. And they're wieldy and they're easy to use on lots of small spots, like cutting out the anus and all that. Okay, sit down and catch my breath, my goodness. So anyways, the fact that the blade is very nimble is still useful. I love it. There was a lot that I got to use, like I said, on the hind end there. But this one is great for both the processing part as well as getting into the gut cavity, being careful. It's just so sharp, and the angle of that point, which is now covered in guts. There we go. The angle of this point is just ever so slightly got this drop to it, a little drop, which means it gives me a little safety because it's not back this way. I've had some other blades that hook back a little bit, and you just got to be careful with your angles as you're cutting through. You could nick gut cavity and all that. And this was a really clean shot. It was an instant death. He died on the spot. It was actually the fastest kill I've ever had on a deer, to be honest with you. I was really surprised how quickly just done, which is great. But anyways, back to this blade. So I was able to run it through with real ease, and I was surprised at how smoothly this ran through. The blade is going to be easy to clean off because all I've got are handle scales that are micarta, hot water, and soap. And, you know, it's a really high quality blade steel. I tend not to put them back in the sheath when they're like this. I'll just box them up and be really careful. If you're not a person who's careful, you need to put your knife back in your sheath every time as you're cleaning, because you could kneel on it, you could step on it, you could put your hand down and slice yourself. These are incredibly sharp. Do not be foolish. I have like a little bin I put stuff in for safety, and I didn't cut myself. But great blade. I'm surprised. This is the one I used the most on this particular hunt. But this guy, bird and trout, that sort of thing, this is still going to get used a lot, and I still used it a lot here, obviously. I think when it comes to now taking the hide off, maybe tomorrow or the next day, I'll end up using this one even more, just because it's nimble and good dexterity with this knife. All right, guys, I used the Savage 110 PCS with an X-Tar sling, actually, and an anechoic 30 caliber. This is their long can. They just sent this out. This is the first animal I've killed with it, and it was incredibly quiet. Hearing safe in the woods even. No problems at all. 300 blackout. What I ended up using was one shot of this Palmetto State Armory sold Saber. This is black tip, 125 grain. It's pushing 125 grain bullet at about 2,100 feet per second. Plenty of foot-pounds energy inside of 100 yards, kind of like shooting the old 30-30. I did use the Zero Tech. This is the Trace Advanced, and it looks like I shot it on 1.5 power. I haven't touched it since. 1.5 power was plenty enough at that distance. And I have the O sight on top of it. I would have run the red dot, but I actually had a second to shoot it off a tripod. I left it in the car, but I used the Lux Gun tripod. And what else here? Well, there's a deer, a little 2-year 6-pointer. Good meat. Thank you to all these brands who threw things out to the channel. One more thing about this sheath that I really dig is you have a thumb disc here
the way that mine was set up, I can remove the thumb disc. I'm going to make sure I don't lose it. It threads in to this center pack, okay? And this is a snap out. So there's a little tab in here. I'm going to press that out and just pull it out of the set altogether. And now, if I need to, for any reason, carry these separately, maybe I'm going to go on a day hike and I'm doing a small game, I can bring the little blade by itself. I can stay lightweight. And if I was going to, primarily just be needing one blade on a trip for whatever reason, I think it's a good idea to have them together. But if I was going to have just one blade, then I could bring this blade as well. So you can separate them. You don't have to carry both of them all the time. And in fact, you can remove this little chassis that it sits inside of. But I like it. I'm going to keep them together. I just find that they're so useful. It's nice to know, though, that they've thought through the product for the end user. And if you really wanted to, you could separate it by just taking that thumb disc out and popping apart your blades. This is a well-engineered product with really great sheaths, by the way. Really great sheaths. You've got your thumb ramps on top. You do have some belt loops or cordage loops. You can wrap something through, like paracord through, if you want to attach these another way. You could set these up for a tech lock or some sort of ulti clip. It would not be hard to use this in pretty much any way that you use a standard fixed blade or belt knife. Nice drainage holes on the end. That's really important, especially on a blade like this where the sheath is going to get washed out frequently. You need a larger size drainage hole so you can run one of those little scrubby brushes through it and make sure all the bacteria, meat, and guts, all that blood is out of the sheath. And these both have generous drainage holes and openings that will not be hard to work with.
The 300 blackout for this with a 125 grain bullet, and it did an insta kill. It died right away, and it did not damage a huge amount of meat. It just kind of did the basics of what I needed it to do. But I'm gonna have to work around that meat for sure. Blade does a nice job. Very, very sharp. Wow, that knife is so useful. These little bits. A bit of tenderloin. A nice cut. It's just really, really sharp. Made quick work of that too.
All right, let's prepare a little cutting table. Sometimes I like to use disposable cardboard. Big blade slices through this double thick cardboard, no trouble. No trouble at all. And this gives me a good place to cut it up. I can throw this meat I'm gonna save into a bag and throw the guts here and toss it out for the other animals. Well, here's a little small game I got with my Zealous in 2.2. Used that buck rail can on the end and the Discovery 624. This is the HD. I think I was using 25 grainers on this one, and it definitely went all the way through. Made an instant kill, absolutely instant. Very satisfied with the performance of that gun. And I'm gonna put that aside. I've got the Buck PAKLITE. Here's the large blade. It's gonna be really great for deer hunting and kind of a bird and trout or fishing game. I like this size for squirrels, and I like the actual design because it's a nice, small, easy to wield blade, but both would do the trick. I wouldn't really have trouble using both. I just think this one's a little bit better for small game, like what I have here. Let's go ahead and use this one today. Wrong on these. Shouldn't be, not a problem. This little blade cuts through it just fine. Caleb, don't touch the camera. Thanks, buddy. Now, on big game, I'm probably not going to be using a blade to do it. Not a blade that I like very much anyways. So it does tend to dull them out. You can open them up. Now, I've cleaned off my small blade and definitely Still looking really good. Don't see any chips or folds from cutting ribs or leg bones. I try not to cut bones at all with blades. It's a really bad idea. I cut around them though, and sometimes you just end up nicking a bone. It's really inevitable. Even as a newbie hunter like myself, I am picking that up, that's going to happen. I think for processing the meat, just for fun, now I'm going to use the larger blade, and I really like this. Something about this ergonomic is just super comfortable. Something about the pinch grip, working with meat, it just makes it a very easy to articulate blade. The dexterity is good. I can pinch up and cut and skin in different ways. So processing meat might not be the initial calling for this. It's really a great skinner, but I'm still going to use it for processing meat too. I think I'll have to take it inside because it's starting to rain. I'm going to find that joint and just cut through without ruining my blade. So no need to cut through the joint itself. You can pretty much just twist the arm around, get in there, disconnect the connecting fibers. And squirrels have these little, can't remember what they're called. It's like a little organ that they have, a little pouch that they have by their armpits, and I always cut those off. I don't think they're dangerous to eat, but they're not necessary to eat, and doesn't taste like meat, I know that. Pop the socket out from the notch there and cut around it. That should save you from having to cut through anything other than just a little bit of tendon. Like that. So cutting through that bone, it possibly could chip most steel. It's a very hard bone. But going around it is just a smarter move. One thing I'm just so impressed at is the fineness of the edge. As I was kind of butterflying away these fat sinew pieces and some of that silver skin, it's amazing how well a blade of this size is just controllable in the hand. I think that has to do with ergonomics. This little bit of textured grip here, I wasn't sure what it would be like in hand. I know that there was some jimping, but wasn't sure what this would do. But I would say the actual angles really contribute to different holds that you might have as you're cutting, gutting, and maybe even processing a little meat like I am right now. It does really well with that.